Hey everyone, it's Michelle. I am enjoying my Friday. I kind of rushed in the last minute to make sure I got on at 10. Um, Ever the coordinated person, this morning I slept in. So I'm very happy. I'm wide awake. I feel really good. If you like our channel, please like, subscribe, and share. If you'd like to make comments telling us what you'd like to know about, hear about, then please leave them in the comments. We're happy to share our knowledge, do what we can to make the world a better place. Today we're going to be doing chapter 6 in the Mastering Metaphysics book, The Essential Foundations and Principles. It came out in November, and this is from teachings that I trained with in metaphysics back in the 90s with a spiritualist church. That's where this derived from, and all the years of study since I was 14 that I've accumulated knowledge and what I've put together. I tell people this all the time. It's not something that you have to believe. We all have our concepts of what our truth is, and what my goal is to help you find even more truth. So even though you may not agree with everything, there's food for thought, and it may bring you to a higher truth. At least that's the goal. So we're going to be reading from, like I said, chapter 6, Civilizations. I wanted to take a little bit to talk about Atlantis. That's one of the civilizations that we know quite a bit about, because it actually is very close to America's home front. So, page 67, Atlantis. The Red State ruled civilizations during the time of Atlantis. Atlantis covered the Atlantic Ocean area, Iceland, Greenland, Bimini Islands, and South America. Today, our understanding of science, universal knowledge, also known as metaphysics, and the development of our spiritual gifts are as close to the knowledge of the Atlanteans as we have ever gotten. Other than our current one, Atlantis is probably the civilization we know the most about. The scientific communities of Atlantis found ways of working with DNA and DNA combinations to create morphs and new species. This is probably one of the reasons why people are so against cloning and stem cell research. The Atlantean scientists learned to control the weather with crystals. They also learned how to perform lobotomies on their criminal factions. The book entitled Edgar Cayce on Atlantis, written by his son Edgar Evans Cayce, tells of America being the penal colony for Atlantis. Atlantis scientific communities were at odds with the healing communities. The healers worked in temples with crystals, healing energy, and natural remedies such as herbs and foods to bring about healing of the physical body, which of course brings balance to the mind and spirit also. The scientific community had begun to experiment with the combining of animal DNA and human DNA. This may be why pig insulin was found to be more aligned with human than the insulin of monkeys or apes. The differing opinions on bringing about healing created division within Atlantis. The scientific communities and the healing communities both believed the concept of phenomena. That is to say, they both recognized and worked with the energies of what we've referred to as gifts of spirit. For example, Atlanteans used the power of the mind to levitate stone and or a hover ship, a large spaceship sometimes referred to as a Valix, when moving the stones into place to build. These stones were cut by lasers with extreme precision. As all Atlanteans had developed their gifts of spirit, and because of the ego, they used them against each other. Earthquakes started to happen when the conflicts between science and the spiritual communities began in earnest. There were crystals used in weather control to provide energy for heating and electricity. These crystals were deliberately blown up, resulting in the destruction of Atlantis. The Albuquerque, New Mexico area was one of the areas in which the power crystals blew up. This was approximately 12,000 years ago. This cataclysmic chain reaction is what is referred to in the Old Testament book of Genesis as the story of Noah's Ark. Now, when I go in and I look at this and I talk to people about this, things that don't always jive, but we've covered up through our many years of patriarchy, for lack of a better term. What had happened, the Iroquois nation was actually direct descendants of Atlanteans. If you look at their very proud continents, they're very strong, they're very powerful energy. They were some of them were part of the penal colony, some of their ancestors, and some of the guardsmen. But what resulted when this war broke out for Atlantis was the fact that the Iroquois nation learned and carried forth in their traditions from Atlantis and made their civilization, their new world, more in touch with the teachings that had been derived by how they lived. There's a really good book out by Manly P. Hall. It's called The Secrets of America. And in this book, he talks about how the Iroquois nation actually gave America its constitution. We the people, blah, blah, blah. The problem was they left out the aspect of the matriarchy being intertwined with the patriarchy. So there was a balance to their teachings. As we all know, men see one way and women see another way. But when you combine the two, you have a balance. You don't always have to have control or power one sex over the other. What we do need is more of a balance between the feminine and the masculine energies, the positive and the negative forces. So much so that we have also begun to create differences in things like, well, I came from this civilization, I came from this time period. Trying to designate where you came from when you came from all of it. This isn't our first life, nor will it be our last. And funny thing about it is a civilization in metaphysics is 250,000 years. That's approximately 12 cycles of 12 astrological signs. So an astrological sign rotates like we're in the age of Aquarius. Well, wonderful. 2,600 years. And the Aquarian energy holds us to that blending. But in that time, you have many lifetimes. And not all your lifetimes are spent here. It's until you reach a state of consciousness that you don't need this experience anymore, that you're able to freely come and go into different concepts and timelines. We're here to bring balance. We're here to have experiences. We're here to co-create with our creator. And the most difficult part of it is we don't realize that our civilizations that we're living in, like we are very much a part of, is there to bring the knowledge of what that energy of that civilization has to offer. A really good book to read on this is Michael Rhodes' Into a Timeless Realm. I love that book. He expressly, oh, I've got something going crazy over here. Well, there you go. My incense went into a big old bubble of smoke, and I was seeing it coming around full circle. So I apologize. I thought I was burning down my house. But what ends up happening is that we're over here in our world, and we're not understanding that every civilization has an energy, every age has an energy, and we incarnate agreeing to experience that energy under the direct astrological sign that we are, like today. Because every time you have that energy, it will bring you into another level of consciousness. And so we agree to experience these things. We agree to the shifts in the earth. The earth changes. Someone and I were talking the other night about the metal core of the earth and how it shifts. Well, every time that shifts, it's going to create a shift in consciousness. Hopefully, we're going higher in consciousness. But as you can see, in our civilization right now is very much like Atlantis, which is why I wanted to read you that section. We're fighting the factions. We're fighting, instead of religion or science and spirituality, we're fighting religion and spirituality. We have dogma that's attached to create fear. And in that fear, it will keep us down and oppressed, where we don't realize that this is an abundant planet, that we have nothing but abundance. Everything is open to us. When we struggle with concepts that we must work hard instead of joyously, when we must suffer in order to learn. I heard somebody say the other day, it is the damage that heal the most. Well, they have the most to heal from. If you've been damaged, you have the most to heal from. But what would happen if you didn't have any damage and you were still the bright energy, the clear star of peace, light, and love that you were born into this world to be, without the dysfunction of a broken family, without fear and anger taught through religious dogma? What would happen to all of us if we were all in that vibration of peace and harmony? We wouldn't be so jealous of each other that we would throw up barriers between ourselves and other people. We wouldn't be reaching out to attack. We would be joining together in community. Remember, I've said this before, I'll say it again. Community is about come unify. It's about collaboration. It's about joyousness. It's not, well, I can manifest for me. I don't need to worry about joining up with you. Well, what's wrong with joining up together when we actually, by joining up, help somebody who might be struggling a little more to get that concept? We're lending our energy to higher consciousness. These are the things that we should be doing instead of worrying about what you get. Because if you're still going into that paradigm of, well, I can make manifest everything that I want, you're still playing out of ego. You're not playing out of heart. And heart center is what we need to be working toward. That open-hearted giving of all, realizing that you are I and I am you. We all will experience the same. So why do we want to make this more difficult? We're at this point in our civilization, we're closest to the energy, the knowledge, and the power that Atlanteans had. I hope we don't make the same mistakes that we used to. Oh, you're welcome, TK. Thank you for listening. When we bring forth our levels of awareness to each other, and it could be something simple like the dog doesn't like bananas, and therefore the little pieces of banana that somebody else is feeding the dog are no longer strewn around the house for somebody to slip on. When we recognize that we can hear each other by speaking calmly and nicely and cohesively in our love for each other, by saying things like, hey, what are you doing today? Do you need some help with anything? Instead of, hey, what are you doing today? You should be doing this or that. It's, instead of dictation, it's about discussion. And these are the ways of consciousness that we're shifting to. I know that it seems like there's a lot of turmoil going on, and there is, because people are struggling for that higher level of awareness. Remember that they're talking about the earth core that's shifting. That's going to shift our consciousness. That's going to trigger things in our brain, new thoughts, new ways of thinking, new ideas. And that's going to be what helps us move through this oppression that politics and religion want to keep us in. We will soon, if we all chip in and focus in on having spiritual teachers once again guide us in our ways of living, making it easier to raise everybody in higher consciousness, so that Nobody lives in fear, so nobody's killing somebody out of fear. Nobody's stealing out of fear. Nobody's traumatized by fear. And it'll take a few hundred years, I'm sure, to get to that higher level of awareness. But I don't want to incarnate to another world where religious dogma takes over and oppresses me, or where lack is still singing its ugly tune. I think all of us want to come into a higher state of consciousness that, see, even the smoke's agreeing, it's coming at me. The beauty of it all is that we're going to want to come into a higher consciousness, so that the struggle is not in what we have to do. The struggle is more about how much joy can we hold in our heart at any one time. With that being said, I wish you all a beautiful weekend, and I will see you next week. Next week, we will still be doing global awareness, and next week we will be dealing with, I know I should know these things because I wrote it, our next chapter will be on universal love. So thank you, TK. Thank you, Clarissa, for dropping in, and I hope you enjoyed it. I will talk with you guys soon. Please let us know if there's any topics you'd like us to cover, and we will be glad to do it. Have a great day. Bye now.